Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The Money Down Pod is back. That is Sean White at Dumpster Fire Fan. I am Kayvon Izami at Kayvon_sports. Follow us on Twitter at Money Down Pod. It is so good to be back and talking with you all on this lovely Tuesday afternoon here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for having some patience. I know it's been a little bit since we've been churning these videos out. We were doing really well. I went on vacation. We all got busy and we had to kind of put things aside. And of course, when you do that, the whole entire NFL world breaks loose and 90,000 things happen. So we're going to try and catch up on all of that stuff. I can promise you that we will catch up on everything throughout the week. This podcast specifically, we are going to hit on just to lay it out for you guys so that you know what's coming in it. We're going to hit on the Deshaun Watson and every angle of that. Every angle. Everyone knows I'm a Falcons fan. We're going to talk about that side of it. We're going to talk about the Browns side of it. We're going to talk about the Baker side of it. We will then transition to Matt Ryan. I will talk about that and what that means for the Falcons. We'll talk about what that means for the Colts. And then we'll move into the big receiver news, which is Tyreek Hill, as of 30 minutes ago, gets traded to the Dolphins. And obviously the Devontae Adams news is still massive as well, even though that feels like it happened like 2 weeks ago with everything going on. So that's kind of how we'll go. And there will be other pieces that we hit within those conversations. Sean, how are you doing, man? I know a lot's going on in the NFL world and the sports world in general. What's been new with you?
Yeah, this has been the craziest off-season trade and movement-wise that we've had probably in general. It's been crazy. We've had top quarterbacks move. We've had receivers move teams. It's been a crazy time. I'm glad we're getting to catch up on it. As Kayvon said, if you're listening to this on like the iTunes, the Spotifys, this is all going to be in one, so just take your time through it. It's going to be a longer pod for that. If you're on YouTube, I cut it up, so it'll be the topics that Kayvon discussed. We did real good with our last free agency news video. Everybody seemed to enjoy that one. So we're going to keep it rolling with the all-season news. Every team has hope right now. That's what's so good about it. And whether you lose players or get players, this is the fun part of the NFL right here, not just the games. It's this part. So I can't wait to talk about it. I know my guy Kayvon here had a huge emotional week last week with Deshaun going there. And if you don't know, Kayvon loves Deshaun Watson. I mean, one of his favorite players NFL-wise. Period to watch. He loves him. So I know this was an emotional week, and I can't wait to hear you talk about it so we can jump right into it.
Yeah, and then just real quick, then my favorite Falcon of all time is now gone. So, I mean, it has just been a massive week, and we're going to break it all down right here. Real quick, anybody out there listening, we want to hear your thoughts. If you're a Browns fan, are you excited about this? What are your thoughts on this? If you're a Saints fan, if you're a Panthers fan, what are you guys feeling? If you're a Falcons fan, what are you feeling that you did not win out on the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes? And if you're not a fan of these teams, but you're a fan of other teams, how do you feel your team has done so far in free agency? We will read your comments. We will agree with you. We will debate with you. Whatever it is your comment has to say, let us know either in the comment sections or at Money Down Pod on Twitter. Awesome stuff. So let's get right into it, Sean. Deshaun Watson goes to Cleveland. Massive news. NFL quarterback contract breaking news. I mean, Deshaun Watson got an NBA contract. Deshaun Watson got a Kyrie Irving contract. Like that's what just happened. Deshaun Watson got a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract, something we have never seen happen in the NFL world. That's how that went down. The Browns were willing to do it, and I think there's a couple of reasons why they were willing to do it, and we can get into that in just a minute here. I want you to start, though, with your thoughts on how this went down, and then I'll go from there and kind of give my point on this.
So if you watch some of our previous videos, I actually said the two dark horse teams for him was the Vikings and the Browns. And I felt strongly about that. Once the Vikings extended Cousins, I knew they were out. But the Browns came hard after him. But let's be honest, this all came down to one thing, money. This all came down to money. When he started eliminating the Browns that first day, I was like, okay, so he didn't choose the roster that I thought was the strongest. And even though the AFC is much stronger, I was like, okay, he's going to try to go home to Atlanta, or either he's going to take the roster stability of the Saints, that you kind of have Mickey Loomis there who's been there forever, and you kind of think, okay, well, at least I could trust this GM. Then all of a sudden the Browns came back in, and I was like, well, how'd that happen? But it all came down to money in that contract you're talking about. And my biggest takeaway from all of this is David Mulugheta, his agent, is Jimmy Sexton for players. He's going to get every penny, and he's going to screw every front office there is. That's what he does. As a Jags fan, I dealt with him getting Jalen Ramsey sent out, and he did every trick in the book to get him moved. This guy's a great agent. Let's be honest. He's a great agent in the league. He basically pitted everyone against each other, and then had the Browns on the back burner still talking contract talk with them. And not only did he get $230 million guaranteed, he worked it to where it's only $1 million next year. So if he gets suspended, he doesn't lose money, which is crazy to think about. It's scummy as shit. Let's be honest. That's some scummy move right there. But that's what an agent does, and you can't fault the agent for that. He did his job. That's great. As for Deshaun picking the Browns, I think this makes him a contender over the next 2-3 years. I think you're putting a top 10 quarterback on a roster that's great. I think they're going to play well and do all that, and him and Amari Cooper together as a good receiver to quarterback connection. They have the defense. They have the run game. Stefanski's a good play caller. But this all came down to money, and this all came down to Baker's situation not being something the Browns wanted to deal with. And that's the two things that got this deal done, in my opinion. And no matter how you feel about it, he's on the Browns now. I know some people are detracted about what happened in his personal life. I'm not going to really get into that. But as a franchise, the Browns improved, and now I feel like they're one of the more contending teams in the AFC because they have a quarterback to compete with these other top ones that the AFC has.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. Real quick, it came down to money, but you also hit the nail on the head of this. If Baker doesn't go on Instagram like a 12-year-old girl, it's a serious question, man. If Baker, because this is Baker, man, Baker's super disappointing. If he doesn't go on Instagram like a 12-year-old girl because a team, I mean, like, let's just understand, this is the NFL, man. If a team sees another pretty girl out there, and obviously what I mean by that, a cute QB that seems better, they're going to go flirt with that person. And if they feel like the flirtation can become more, that's the NFL. And Baker got so sensitive about it before anything even happened. He went on Instagram. He said, I want to trade. And my question to you is, before I go in depth of all my thing of this, if he doesn't do that, is Deshaun a Cleveland Brown? Because I genuinely think Deshaun backed out. This is just my reading the sources and everything like that. Deshaun backed out of the Browns, and the Browns were going to just say, okay, whatever, that's fine. But once things got broken with Mayfield, I think the Browns and Jimmy Haslam, who is a dirty owner, looked around and said, we're about to go back to what we've been the last 30 years. A team with no quarterback again. Like, we are literally we're not good. Baker Mayfield's ego so hard, we're not going to be able to fix anything with him. Now, so we'll have to deal with that. And if we do get him, it's going to be hostile, all that stuff. And I think they said, we have to just throw the entire world at Deshaun Watson. We will make it the most player-friendly contract in the history of the sport, and we're going to run with it. That's what's going to happen. I genuinely believe that's how it went down. Do you agree?
Okay, so yeah, reading, like, if anyone read Mary Kay Cabot, she covers the Browns very closely.
Really well. She's a great reporter.
You can trust what she's saying. She's very close to the franchise. So if you kind of read her little tea leaf kind of things that she says about it, you can kind of tell they backed off. They were kind of going to run it back with Baker. And then it wasn't Baker's Instagram thing. It was Baker kind of was like, yeah, I want to trade, and was like, I'm not going to show up and do anything. I'm not going to play for you. And that kind of threw them into overdrive, I believe. I mean, that's kind of weak on Baker, but also if you read her little other tea leaf things, you would tell that he kind of isn't a big fan of Stefanski, which I can't understand at all. Stefanski is one of the best player callers in the league, and he didn't like how the Odell thing went down. The locker room kind of changed on him. So if you read that kind of story, you can see where that's coming from, and that kind of probably pushed him to more desperation to Deshaun. So I do agree that Baker affected Deshaun being there. It's so funny that Baker played his hand like that, because I don't know what kind of situation he's going to end up with now, and we'll get into that a little later, but I'm going to let you do your thoughts on Deshaun. But that definitely had a huge key impact on it, was Baker pushing that trade and that sitting out the all season type thing that he was doing.
No doubt. And to your point of how great of an agent, is it Mulugheta? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's David Mulugheta. Yeah.
Mulugheta. Okay. And I think Mulugheta is so smart. He read the room. He probably saw, oh man, the Browns, they are about to be the Browns again. Let me give them a call up and say, hey. And I bet the Browns instantly said, let's freaking go. So this is my thing. And this is, so as a Falcons fan, I was refreshing Twitter 24/7. I mean, it got to the point, Sean, where my girlfriend got really pissed at me, even though she gets it. Like she's a Falcons fan now because we've been dating for so long. She knows that if the Falcons win, things are good because I'm happy and all that stuff. So she's cheering for the Falcons. So she was all for me. You know, it became fun for us, but got to the point where she was starting to get pissed off because like I was just like nonstop refreshing, figuring this out and all this stuff. And it was so funny, man. On Twitter, you had a Twitter beef going on with 3 different fan bases, okay? Because I'm sorry, Panthers, you guys had no shot. You had absolutely no shot. Deshaun Watson was never going to pick the Carolina Panthers unless the Panthers were willing to do a deal like the Browns were, and Tepper said from the beginning they're not doing that. So it was the Saints, it was the Browns, and it was Falcons. And on Twitter, you had the Browns fans saying, we have the best roster. Like, why in the hell not would he come to us? We have the best roster by far. You had the Saints saying, look, we still have a pretty damn good roster. And we, like you said, we're the most stable org. We have a great owner. We're extremely stable. We always do right by our players, blah, blah, blah.
Hell, Sean Payton could come back next year. And honestly, Dennis Allen would just step back down to DC, if we're being honest.
Doubt. Like, you had that going on. And then you had the Falcons fans saying, like, straight up, we don't have that good of a roster, but it's home. It is literally home. This will be your city. It already is your city. You already love the franchise. And in 2023, we are going to have so much cap space. We'll let you build this team. And we were willing to bring in, and this was reported by Jeremy Fowler and Schefter, we were willing to bring in Jarvis Landry, AJ Green, and Leonard Fournette, all with Deshaun this season. And they were on board with it. Like, that was all talked together. So you have one team saying we have the best roster. You have the other team saying stability. And you have one team saying home. So we're all sitting here saying, like, he's going to pick home because he wants to rework his image, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm a fool for thinking that it had anything to do with any of those. Because at the end of the day, you're exactly right. All it had to do was money. And Deshaun Watson leveraged his hometown to get more money. Whether you think it was Deshaun Watson or you think it was the agent. And I'm not mad at Deshaun for that. I'm not mad. I wish he told his agent, listen, I know I have a lot of issues going on right now. My image isn't that great. I'll take $200 million instead of $230, or I'll take $180 million instead of $230 and play at home instead. Because I think the Falcons would have done that deal. It was just the fully guaranteed, and it was giving him that type of contract that was the issue. So it was just so funny to see all that, and then it ended up being nothing but money, which at the end of the day, we all should have saw that coming anyways, because it's always going to be about money, and that's how it went down. It was the biggest roller coaster of emotions ever, and maybe it's my fault for just getting too excited, but I thought we had him. I thought it was locked up. I thought it was over, and to this point, Sean, if we didn't have Matt Ryan, or if Matt Ryan was already traded, I think right now Deshaun Watson's an Atlanta Falcon, because the reason why it took so long to get the contract going is because the Falcons wanted to trade Matt Ryan first. So that's why it was first like Deshaun's going to the Falcons. Even Josina Anderson reported it. But it might not happen till Monday because the Falcons want to get Matt Ryan to the place he deserves and then finalize the deal. And while the Falcons were busy trying to get Matt Ryan out, the Browns and Deshaun's agent were on this side doing their own thing, to the point where I really don't even know, and I hope this comes out. Maybe you've seen a report. I've looked all over. I really want to know if the Falcons even got a chance to counter the offer. I really don't know if they did. Like,
Yeah,
from what Schefter came out and said, it sounded like it happened so fast that the Falcons didn't even have a chance to counter it. Now, I don't think they would have, even if they did have the chance, but I didn't see anything about them having the chance to counter it.
Yeah, the only thing I read was that Blank was very uncomfortable doing the deal that Deshaun got. So I don't know if that meant they brought it to him and he was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." But at the same time, to go on, I was actually congratulating you for getting him because so many people were tweeting it.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for you. And not only that, Kyle Pitts basically tweeted that he was coming there, like in a way, and he shares an agent with Deshaun. So like I was like, oh, that's over.
That's what
and
I'm saying.
By the way, good luck dealing with him. When he goes to get extended, you ain't going to be paying him top tight end money. You're going to be paying top receiver money for him. So good luck. Good luck dealing with Mo. You got to when it's his turn for the contract. But I'll let you continue on. But yeah, that's the report I saw. So I don't know if that was a full counter or if they had brought that to them before, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to go that high on guaranteed." And then they brought it back to the Browns, and the Browns said, "Okay." So I don't know which happened first.
No doubt. And that's why I said, again, I really think it was all but officially done. Kyle Pitts tweeting that out, all the reports coming out that it was happening. You had Quavo, you had all these people there. Deshaun wanted to come home, and then at the last second, it flip-flopped like that. And the Browns were desperate, and they did the desperate thing, and they got better. They got better from it. Now, it happened. It's over. I got over that, and I thought, all right, it's fine. Deshaun ended up wanting to go there. Falcons fans don't really like it. They're going to be pissed, and the Falcons play the Browns this year, which will be pretty funny. It's in Atlanta, too. I don't know if Deshaun actually is going to be playing. I have a feeling, and we can kind of transition to this now, that the league might come down hard on Deshaun. That's just my look. I could be wrong. The league might just do a 6 games and pat it and go. I'm almost wondering if the league, and I heard this report come out from someone, I wish I remember who, to kind of go back at the Browns for making this type of slimy deal. The league actually lets this play out and doesn't suspend him this year and waits to suspend him next year after everything's done, so he actually gets hit with the $46 million penalty of not playing for the whole season or 10 games or something like that. Like, I don't know if the league would do that, but I saw a report out there about that, which would be fascinating. We can't really guess what's going to happen with that. It's all over the place. There's no reason to guess from it. But at the end of the day, man, the Browns 100% got better. Whether he used the Falcons as leverage or not, it was disappointing. It hurt. But at the end of the day, every single person was wrong because you had 3 fan bases clamoring for 3 different things, and it came down to one thing and one thing only, and that was money. And a guy that hasn't played in a year just got $230 million, and a quarterback that took the Browns to the first ever postseason win in like 30 years, it feels like. Not the first ever, but it first win in forever. Gets kicked out now, man. Like, it's just a wild thing that has happened in Cleveland. And Baker's probably sitting there now saying, why the hell did I play hurt last year? Because if I didn't play hurt and he set out last year or the second half of the season, they don't have Deshaun Watson right now. I think that's pretty clear to say.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And so 2 things on Deshaun before we talk a little bit more in depth on Baker. So, number 1, what did you think about the trade compensation? Because the Texans didn't get what they said they were asking for at all, which I thought was kind of funny because Russell Wilson got they didn't get the 3 first with Russell, but they got players. Yeah. So I found that weird that they didn't get a single player from the Browns or the seconds at all. And then the other thing is Deshaun with the suspension. I think the NFL should be kind of savage and do that. That would be the most savage thing the NFL could do is just be like, we're going to wait and find out what the civil suit cases end up being and just drag it out that way and then pop him with the suspension next year. That would be kind of a savage move by the NFL, and I could see that happening.
And it would work for their PR. I mean, they talk about getting on the good side of some of these fans. These fans are always complaining, and rightfully so, that the NFL does nothing with these cases. You want to hit it where it hurts. You hit them at the $46 million next year. It would be savage, and people would like that.
Yeah, and believe me, the NFL knows, like, they've actually been growing a fan base of women as well. Like that's a thing. Like in the last 4 or 5 years, my wife is like really into it. She does like 2 fantasy leagues, watches the Jags with me every week. You said Emily now is like a bandwagon Falcons fan on
Yep.
top of that from being with you. Like they actually are growing with women. More and more wives are like watching it with their husbands and more
Yes.
girlfriends. And with sports gambling and stuff growing, like they could definitely use the PR hit. But yeah, I thought the compensation was low. I wanted to discuss that right quick.
Mhm.
Kind of weird they didn't get a second or a player out of that at all. The 3 firsts is huge. I thought the 3 firsts was going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
But it's a little weird they didn't get a second or a player out of it, in my opinion. That's just me, though.
No, I think you're right. I think if you compare the two, I already liked the deal that Seattle got. I think you could say Seattle probably got more. I mean, I understand, like you said, they didn't get 3 firsts, but they got 2 really good players, in my opinion. The Texans didn't get any players, and the only thing I could think is they're so young and just have so many needs. Maybe they just thought we don't want players anyways. We don't want to deal with contracts, signing people. We just want more. But at that case, why did you not ask for some seconds? I agree. Supposedly the Falcons were willing to offer 3 firsts and AJ Terrell. And I think that blows out the Browns offer, man, because AJ Terrell is better than any of those later picks that they got. And I would have been pretty like, I mean, I would have been happy to get Deshaun, but I would have been pretty upset if we got rid of AJ Terrell. So that, to me, hearing that was interesting. Who knows if that's actually true or not, but I agree with you. The compensation definitely felt short, and it felt like Houston could have budged a little bit more and asked for more. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe they want to just be done with it, but I agree. That's a little odd to me.
Yeah, I do think Houston probably just wanted to get rid of him at that
Yeah.
point. But like I said, it's weird. They didn't even get their asking price they started with. Like they had to come off of it, which I guess in most deals you end up doing anyway. You set it really high and then meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I thought the 3 first AJ Terrell deal, I was like, oh shit, the Falcons are like really giving up like a lot right there for Deshaun. Like that would be a way more even trade. I would actually kind of lean toward the Texans almost winning that with the contract you'd have to pay.
Yeah.
But then the quarterback being able to carry is also the factor to think about there. Like I said, that was a much more comparable deal to what I thought it was. Maybe the guaranteed money, the Browns like, look, we have to pay that. But that's one thing to watch in the future too. If you get a no trade on these players, you lose a lot of leverage.
Oh,
The Texans lost so much leverage having that no trade out there on there because they like basically gave Deshaun a free agent pick. Like he got to pick his spot, which usually you would think.
Recruiting. It was literally recruiting.
Yeah, so those no trades, if you see a no trade clause be put in a contract, it's going to be something else to try to deal with them in the future because they can ask out at any time, and you kind of got to send them where they want to go.
Especially because it felt like that didn't matter in the past because it felt like the NFL never was like that, especially at the quarterback position. But these last couple years, man, everything has changed. I mean, the quarterbacks, these players are becoming what these NBA players are doing. They want out. But my thing is this. You're right. The Texans didn't have any leverage, but it did feel like towards the end, they actually did start to get some leverage because of clearly how intrigued and into the Falcons were. Like, the Texans could have said no. They could have said no. They could have said, we're not sure. We don't want your offer. We like the Falcons offer more. And then that could have put Deshaun at a stalemate. Deshaun would have had to say, no, I only want to waive it to the Browns. And then they're at a stalemate there. And if Deshaun wants to play next season, is he going to change his mind? Like, if the Texans really wanted to push this more, and like you said, maybe they just wanted to be done with it, they could have, man. Because if the Texans said, no, we want AJ Terrell, we want that Falcons offer more, so we're sticking with this. Get that deal done. Maybe Deshaun ends up going and getting that deal done. Who knows? Like, I feel like they could have pushed it more. Maybe they just didn't want to.
Yeah, that's how I kind of felt about it. But we can move on to Baker now. So that's what I was going to bring up here. Baker has kind of painted himself into a corner, man.
Bro.
Because nothing he's saying is working out. He was like, trade me. They're like, nah, you're good. Then he's like, I want to go to the Colts. And the Colts are like, oh, Matt Ryan's over there? Cool, let's go get him. Yeah. And now it's like, now, have you ever heard of this? I think this is the weirdest report ever. him and the Panthers are both just disinterested in each other. like, like, what report is that? Usually it's like, yeah, the Panthers would trade for him, but Baker doesn't want to go. Or it's like, the Panthers are out on him. It's like, neither one has interest. They both hate it.
That is so funny.
Literally, he's only really got one place to go, and that's Seattle, in my opinion, unless someone gets hurt. But really, what are the Browns going to do? They can't really keep him, can they? Like, it's done. And like, if you're not going to trade him somewhere, you kind of got to let him go. And I don't even know what you're going to get in a trade. I think it's really down to Seattle, and I don't know if Seattle's going to want to bid like up against themselves. So it's kind of a weird spot.
And the worst team for it to be a final team is Seattle, and this is why. Pete Carroll and John Snyder, they're not going to do that, dude. They're not going to overbid for Baker, even if there were teams out there that was interested too. That's just not how Seattle rolls. Seattle is sitting there waiting. They know the Browns have no other options, and they're sitting there saying, cut him. Like, literally cut Baker, take on his salary, and then we'll go and swoop in Baker. And if that happens, there's going to be a ton of teams probably that try and go, maybe a ton, I don't know, that go in and swoop on him. I think the whole league is sitting there saying, do we really need Baker that bad, or can we wait and then see if he picks us, or we go in and swoop a little bit more money when he gets cut? I think the Browns are literally going to end up cutting Baker Mayfield, bro. I think that's what else are they going to do? Unless they finally call Seattle and they're like a 7th round pick, like just something ridiculous. Maybe Seattle will do that. But at this point, man, just think about it, Sean. Like, has this ever happened before, man? A number 1 pick still on his rookie deal, talking about getting a contract extension last year. Within 1 season, everything goes to hell. He went into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers last year. Now, I'm not high on Baker, but I'm just pointing out what's fair to point out, and that is, I mean, he's done things at the quarterback position for the Browns that they literally have not had in decades and decades of time. Like, that is what he has done in a couple years with the Browns, and it just went all to hell. And I hate being this guy, but if Baker had a better attitude, bro, I don't think this would have ever happened. I think that he played hurt, and that killed him. Never play hurt. I understand you're trying to show you're a tough guy for the locker room, and players respect the hell out of that. Never play hurt in the NFL, because they will throw you aside so quickly. And second, if he had the attitude of a Matt Ryan, I think Seattle would say, I'll give you a 4th round pick for him. I'll give you a 3rd round pick. If he had the attitude of a Matt Ryan, maybe the Browns say, we can make this work. You know, it's all his attitude, his butting head with journalists and beat writers and all that stuff. It just all crashed down on his head faster than I've ever seen happen before, man. I really cannot remember something like this happening again.
Yeah, it's just so strange, his whole flight. But it's definitely like the attitude thing is actually correct. People can love the tough, cocky guy and stuff when they're winning, and some people hate that. Like, it's a hate it or love it thing.
Yeah.
But once you fall from grace, you fall from grace when it's like that. So he's taking a tumble just based on that attitude, which you can't fault him one way or another. That's how his whole career's gone. He always had a chip on his shoulder, even in college. That's what you knew you were getting. You knew you were getting that from him. That's a thing. I kind of want to throw 2 teams out there to watch. I know the reports are the Steelers would look at him if he gets cut. Here's the other 2 to watch if he gets cut, and this is my opinion. Watch the Tennessee Titans to take him to back up Tannehill.
Wow.
Because they did that with Tannehill before. And I don't think they're too crazy about Tannehill, but that cap hit's so big. So if they can get Baker for nothing to back him up and have that, I could see that. Here's the other one to watch for me. It's kind of weird how Kyler Murray's acting with Arizona. And you could just put him back with Cliff.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating.
That's the other one to really watch out for, if he gets cut. Because I don't see them trading for him. That would just ruin their situation with Kyler. Now, I can see them being like, Kyler, you were his backup in college. He can be your backup in the pros and have it there. Like I could see that happening because he knows Cliff's system.
Yeah,
And then if Kyler keeps giving mouth and attitude, because I can see Kyler wanting out in the next year or two unless they pay him big.
me too.
Because that seems to not have slowed down. And his agent keeps throwing out all this stuff about, oh, they're not paying people and surrounding Kyler with talent. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you got Hop and all them. Like they
It's
keep
weird.
throwing out these reports. So that's the other one to watch, in my opinion. If he gets cut, I'd watch the Steelers, which has been reported, but the two not reported, I'd watch the Titans and the Cardinals, is my opinion.
Without a doubt. No, I agree. I think those are two very interesting teams. I think just the Steelers being interested is fascinating among itself. Like they clearly see something that they like in him, but they also are clearly interested in Malik Willis too. Like there's a lot going on with the Steelers. It will be interesting to see, but the Baker thing is wild, man. It's absolutely wild.